today's topic is quite is a request by a couple of students. I think one student actually requested just that, karma, Bardo, and reincarnations. And with the question and answer. And another students have requested on karma. So we try to put both together. And again, each of those subjects is quite a big subject. So in a 1 hour, to trying to cover all three big subjects would be challenging. But I guess many of you have already heard about those subjects. And so I guess probably there's no need to go so details, but I think it would be nice to take questions. Maybe that might be more helpful, maybe even though I try to go a little bit just to touch on that. Yeah, so so karma is, as many of you know, is an important subject in Buddhism, because in Buddhism we don't believe there is an all-powerful creator, someone outside, external agent, whether we call it God or Buddha or whatever force, some kind of external creator. So all our experience are a result of our own karma or our own actions. And that being the case, so in that sense, the karma become an important factors to understand why we're suffering, or if we're having a challenges, why we're having those challenges, or if things are going well in our life, why things are going well in our life, what make that happen, different experiences that we experience, different experiences that we go through in our life. Basically, from Buddhist point of view, is nothing outside the main cause. Of course, external factors can contribute. It doesn't mean that it doesn't contribute, but the main cause is our own actions or our own karma. And so that is the core. And the karma, the concept of the karma also fit within the concept of dependent arisings. All condition phenomena are depending on its cause and conditions. That is the main Buddha's view of how everything's interdependent, interconnected, interrelated, and especially all condition phenomena depend on its cause and conditions. Without its cause and conditions, those impermanent or conditioned phenomena cannot come to existence. That as being the very central of the whole Buddha's teachings. And then within that, then if that's the case, then our experience are also conditioned phenomena, impermanent. So since our experience are conditioned phenomena, impermanent, therefore it need to have cause and conditions. And what are the cause and conditions? And therefore our experience of suffering, the cause of our suffering is our negative karma, and the cause of our positive experience or happy experience, the cause of that is our own positive karma. And so then karma comes within the central from the central view of all conditions, all phenomena are dependent arisings. So karma become one part of that, that big dependent arising. So then, and again, our direct experience shows, that things that we see around us, they all depend on cause and conditions, that so things that we can see with our eyes, our sense eyes, we can see, all things, different things, objects, how they come into existence by cause and condition, and how things changes when the cause and condition is changed, and that being the case, even the experience are something we cannot see with our eyes, but something we can see with our mind, something we can experience. And those experiences also depend on its cause and conditions. It has its cause and conditions. And just as we see, in our external world, whatever we do has a consequences. Sometimes we might not see the consequences immediately, but there is a consequences. For example, how we, in everything, whether it's in economic, whether it's in climate, whether in social, thing changes not overnight. It changes over the time. Sometimes it takes decades. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes we might see changes immediately. Sometimes it takes decades. Sometimes it takes centuries. But those are results or consequences of certain actions or policies that were taken long ago. And even though we couldn't see immediate consequences or results immediately, but those actions or those kind of policy does have consequences in long term. And so just sometimes we cannot see the result immediately now, it doesn't mean there is no consequences of our actions. And so therefore, just as there is a consequences for the external things, same thing, every thought we have, it has consequences. Every positive thought we have, it has consequences. Every negative thought we have, it has consequences. And every, positive or maybe, helpful or harmful speech and actions, all of them have consequences. And so, and as a consequences of that, then we experience different experiences. And so that is the functioning of that law of cause and effect is the karma, and especially if we want to be more specific, for example, like even our external world in plant and all other things, when certain cause and condition come together, it produces certain result. And even though, and that is just the law, that is the way things are. That's the law of cause and effect. And within that law of cause and effect, so like example, certain with certain cause and conditions, certain, particles or atoms, energy put together, it produces certain result. And if you change some of those particles, atoms, or some of those cause, then of course result will change. And that's how we modify a lot of things nowadays, even including the food, what size, what color, what shape, all of them, because you change, you take from something somewhere else, and then you mix with something else, and then through that it is able to change. And same way, within that law of cause and effect, general, there is a law of cause and effect. Then we add one more cause, that is our human being's intention, human being's mind. And when that is involved within that law of cause and effect, another cause, that's human beings' intentions, human beings' mind, then it produces the result that we experience, whether it's harmful experience, or whether it's a suffering, painful experience, or whether it's a happiness, joyful experience. And so that is basically, karma. So that is more general, I think I don't want to go too detailed. And when we go detailed, then that general, I think I think it's not so difficult to understand. I think the concept, when we really understand the concept of law of cause and effect in general, from that perspective. But when you come to the details, then it becomes a little bit more complex. When it comes to the detail, then it becomes more complex. And again, it's the same with even external things, plant, for example, certain plant with certain shape, certain color. We know it comes from certain seed. We sow the seed and we plant it and we water it, and then we see it coming. It's a result of that seed. And the cost of that is that the seed, that plant is seed, and water and all of that. But if you go detail, why there is that particular shape, why that size, why that color, why there is a little bit of bluish in one side and white or reddish in the other side, why the stem is different color, and why the leaf is green, and why the flower is something else, and all of that, then it becomes more complex. I cannot explain each of them unless someone really scientist, who biology, or someone who is expert in that, they can explain details, why each of them, why they have different size, why color, and each of them, so they can go detail. They are able to explain detail. But while I can understand the general, it comes from that cause. But for me, I wouldn't be able to understand very detail each of them, why that particular shape, how that particular shape, how that color, how is all of that. Similarly, when it comes to better complex of the details of the karma, then unless someone has a really high level of realizations, their mind, just like you need a technology to be able to explain and see that details and how it works in lab. Same way, you need your mental lab of high realization to be able to see more details and to be able to explain in that detail in that way, And so when it comes to detail, then it becomes a little bit complex. It becomes a little bit not as simple, as easy as sometimes it seems like. So then I think maybe that is, just touching on the karma, and another subject that another kind of important subject in Buddhism is there's a concept of reincarnation or rebirth, you know, reincarnation and rebirth. And so life continues. So life continues. Even though our body, when we die, even though our body cease, but our consciousness continue and taking a new form of life and another form, another life in a different form, you know, different body. So there is that concept of rebirth or reincarnations. Again, I think it is a different concept from many of the major religions. Most of the major religions, after the death, either you go to heaven or you go to hell permanently. That's it. Or in a nowadays, maybe in a materialistic point of view, after the death, everything stops, nothing follows, you know. And there has been such belief or view even during the Buddha's time, where there are some school of thought also who said, you know, after death there is nothing, you know, it stopped, just like when the candles run wax and it comes to an end, and then there is nothing, continuity of that. But you know, in Buddhism, they believe there is a continuity and life after that, and there's not only just, you know, there are many different kind of life, you know, 6 different kind of life, 6 different type of realms where you can take rebirth or reincarnate, and so there is that. And then where do we take the rebirth? Is, you know, we don't have, unless you have reached certain point and certain state of your practice and realization, we don't have the total control where we want to be born, you know. But when someone has reached certain point, then they can make their decisions. They have choice. A lot of both sides of us, they make choice. I want to come, you know, in this particular realms, in these particular families, in particular place, you know, they can make choice. They have the ability to make those choice and control over that. But for ordinary beings, then, you know, just like in our everyday life, you know, sometimes we are kind of blown away by certain energy of karma, and sometimes we have no choice, you know. Like, for example, you know, I don't want to be sick, but I have no choice. I don't want to die, but I have no choice. You know, there's some energy that can drive you to do. It's not about having a choice, you know, and many other things that I don't want to do, but I don't want to happen, but it happens. I have no choice. Certain thing, I want things to happen, but I try, and even by trying, it cannot make happen. And, you know, sometimes, so there is that kind of, sometimes that when karma is very strong, when karma is so strong, sometimes it is hard to have choice in that way. And so what kind of rebirth we have. Since for ordinary being we don't have choice, then it's up to our is decided by our karma. It is kind of by our karma. And so if we have more stronger negative karma, then we are going to more likely to have a rebirth in one of the unfortunate state. And if we have a more stronger positive karma, then we are more likely to have one of the higher rebirth. And so then what kind of reincarnation or rebirth we have has a very much influence by what karma, which karma is more stronger in our mind, in our consciousness. So then there is a connection between the karma and rebirth or reincarnations. And between the reincarnation and karma, I mean, not between, karma. Between this end of this life, death, and between the next rebirth in whatever realms that we take, then there is intermediate stage, what we call Bardo. Bardo means intermediate stage. And so that is where we go through, and that intermediate stage could last, few minutes, few seconds to 49 days before we find the next rebirth. And that intermediate stage is like, it is explained that it has a light body, unlike like our body, which is very kind of concrete. But this intermediate stage has a body of light, so nothing can stop. They can the walls and nothing. They can travel very fast, and they have certain other ability to see things. And sometimes, people say they see, some kind of spirit. And sometimes those kind of spirit could be that intermediate stage, one of the being in Bardo or intermediate stage, sometime. And and then within the Buddhism, there are two different school of thoughts. One school of thought, such as Vasubandhu, who wrote Abhidhamma Kosha, he and like some others, their thought is once you have taken let's say, if I'm going to be reincarnated as an animal, as a cute puppy, if I'm going to be reincarnated as a cute puppy, then I will have the, before being born as a dog, there will be an intermediate stage, the Bardo of the dog. And once you have that, the dog, the intermediate stage of the dog, then it can't be changed. Then you are definitely going to be born as a dog. If you have to change, you have to change before you're dead, through your practice, through training your mind. But once you're dead and you have taken that intermediate stage of whatever realm that you are going to take rebirth, then you can't change. So then once you have intermediate stage of dog, then the rebirth is going to be dog. But then other schools of thought, like Asanga and Nagarjuna and like them, they believe after my death, because of my negative karma, I'm going to be taking as a dog, and I have this intermediate stage of the dog. But still, I could change even in that stage through my practice and through the support of the practice of others, friends and families, and like that. I could change, even have the intermediate stage. I'm born in the intermediate stage of the dog, but still I can change, and then from the intermediate stage of dog, I can become take a rebirth in the intermediate stage of human beings, and next life become a human beings. So it can be changed, transformed, even in that intermediate stage, in Bardo stage. So that gives us a little bit more hope, okay, even after death. And you have already taken intermediate stage of, let's say, animals, still that can be changed. Still there is the space, the opportunity to change through our practice, and also through the support of other practices as well. And so then so through that, then we so that is intermediate. So so I guess maybe that is, I think that is probably all. Maybe so maybe I would, instead of going too much, then maybe I would rather take some questions. If there is any question, please, you can send by on chat or unmuting yourself.
Geshe?
Yes, please, Nancy.
When we do purification practices, how does that work? How do we know which, I mean, the really bad karma is getting purified, or just little karma, you know, how does that work?
I wish I could have a technology to show you how see, as we do purification, then each of the negative karma getting, but basically, you know, there are always what do you call two energy that counter what they call the opposite energies. Okay, there are two kind of opposite energies, and when you increase one of the that opposing energy, you reduce the other opposing energies. That is, again, that is how the law of cause and effect, that is how they are. When there are two opposing energy, when you increase one of the opposing energy, then the opposite energy of that decreases or get reduced or become more weak. That, and negative karma is negative energies, and purification is positive energies, you know, that come through good virtuous mind. And through the virtuous mind, and then you engage into the virtuous practice through your mind and your speech and your body, you know. So you use whatever those and so when you increase that in that way, and specifically for that kind of reducing that, then it has the effect to reduce and overcome it. And when we say purified, you know, there are many different levels of being purified. You know, when we say purified, you know, one level of being purified is that we can kind of destroy the whole negative karma completely. There's no more negative karma to give rise to any kind of pain or suffering. completely, but that is extremely difficult for us at the moment as ordinary beings. It depends on all the conditions, the four opening power we talk about in the purifications, how strong your four opening power are, how, even though we're trying to, with four opening power, we are trying, for example, we are trying to generate a regret, but sometimes our regret is not really strong. Even though we are trying to have regret or remorse, our regret and remorse is not strong. And even though we try to have a resolution or determination not to do again, still sometimes it is not strong. One side we know, I can't do it, even though I'm making these resolutions, there is that kind of, your mind is kind of too not so strong. And then the other opponent power of reliance or object is refuge and bodhicitta. Refuge and bodhicitta, we don't have really true bodhicitta at the moment. Even the refuge is not sure how strong our refuge is. So since all these opponent power are not so strong, so that is why it is not having as strong impact in purification as it should have. The more stronger are those opponent powers are, each of those four powers, the more stronger the purification becomes. And so it will have more stronger effect on cleansing and purifying it. But even though it is not strong, it doesn't mean it will not purify. What it does, even though it cannot completely destroy it, but it make it less, the negative karma become less strong. It become more for example, if the negative karma has a potential to produce 100% of suffering, maybe we might be reduced to where it could only produce 50% of that, or maybe 25% of that, or maybe 10% of that. So therefore, how the purification can have on many different levels, depending on how authentic, how sincerely, and how strong our practice and those opening powers are. And in the same cases, even if we cannot reduce them in that way, one of the other things that at least we can make that it doesn't kind of multiply or increase. That is another effect that purification does. Another purification, what it does is sometimes it can, because of purification, it can postponed. For example, maybe there is a negative karma that is about to rise, about to give a rise of some experience to me. And through my purification, I've been able to postpone that negative karma. And so then instead, something positive karma is activated instead of that negative karma being activated. And so even though we haven't been able to destroy it, but being able to postpone, that give us another space to purify or to do other things. And so again, and so therefore, it can have, the purification can happen on many different levels, depending on how sincere and how strong our practice are. Yeah. Let me see if there are some questions. How do
there are two more.
How do other people's prayer for us after we die affect our rebirth? Yeah, I think just as I can share my wealth with others to reduce their pain. Someone is doesn't have enough to eat, drink, have a shelter. If I have the resources, I can give through that my sharing, and they're receiving that, their pain or suffering of hunger, thirst, or shelter can be reduced, overcome. In that same way, also our positive karma, our virtues, positive, can be shared. So when we do prayers, whether we do any practice, it doesn't have to be prayer. It can be prayer. It can be any virtuous practice. It can be meditations. It can be any other practice, or you can make donations for, as someone who is in need, or in charity, or holy objects, and then you create that virtues, that positive karma, through whatever, whether it's prayer, whether it's a practice, whether it is any other form of virtues, and then you dedicate that the whatever virtues that you have created, whatever merit you have created, whatever positive energy that you dedicate for that persons who have died, for them to have a better rebirth, not to have suffering and all of that, however you want it. So then you are sharing. It's just like you share wealth, same way you share your inner wealth of your virtues from that you have created through that, and thereby you are able to influence that. So then, just as you are able to make a difference by sharing your wealth, external wealth, same way by sharing your internal wealth, you can make a difference in their experience in that way. So that is how it works. And there are a few factors that can make a more stronger effect on that. One is, the stronger karmic connection you have with that person to whom who have died, and the person who is dedicating and praying or doing practice, they will have a strong impact because of their karmic connections, strong karmic connections. Just like even in our life, the more stronger connection I have with certain individuals, what happened to them will affect me more than other people. In a positive way, negative way. Something bad happened in someone who has a strong connection with me, it will affect me more. Someone good things happen in someone who has a strong connection with me, it will affect me more. But even though it is another being where I don't have strong connections in this life, maybe something bad happened to them, it might not affect me so much. Something good happened to them, it doesn't affect me so much. Same way, and that is our experience. That is why we have stronger reactions and effect when something happens to our friends, our families, our children, because of that connections. And the same way karmic connection has similarity. So therefore, that is why when a parent dies, when the children does virtues for the parent, it has strong impact. When the children or friend dies, when their friends and their families and they do, it has more strong impact. Also, same with the teacher and disciple relationship, because they have a strong karmic connection as well. So depending on those karmic connection, it has a stronger impact, even though it can affect by anyone, but stronger. And also, karmic connection is one of the factors that affect a stronger impact. And the other is the person who is dedicating their virtues and sharing through their prayer practice virtues, you know, the more pure they are, the more realized they are, the more stronger impact it has on others. You know, the person is doing, if their heart, if their mind is more pure, their prayer, their prayer and their dedications have more stronger impact. If their practice and realization more higher, it has a more stronger impact because of the power of their purity, the power of their higher realizations, and the power of their higher virtues. Through that, it also had a stronger impact. And so those are the certain, so I think, so with that, I think, yeah, there's another question. Is the cause in karma only from yourself, or are others involved as a cause? When you talk about karma, you know, as I mentioned before, when you go in detail, it can be quite complex. And when you go in detail, then there are collective karma, there are individual karmas, you know, and even in terms of collective karma, there are many different levels of collective karma, you know, collective karma of 2 persons, collective karma of 3 persons, collective karma of whole families, collective karma of the whole countries, collective karma of the whole worlds. And so when we talk about individual karma, then of course the cause is created by yourself. But when we talk of collective karma that we experience together, then it is a cause by yourself and others. For example, if me and another person is experiencing collectively the same experience, whether it's joy or there's suffering because something happened towards our friends, our family, whatever, and we're experiencing the same, and that is collective karma. And the cause of that collective karma is that we both have created together. And if it's a whole families that is experiencing collective karma, then it's created by all of us. And if the whole country, whole state, whole community, whole country are experiencing the same collective karma, then it is a caused by all of us. So therefore, again, so that I think that probably that is the answer to your questions. And next one, do intermediate state being experienced suffering while in Bardo, or does suffering begin with rebirth? Yes, intermediate stage, the Bardo also experience suffering because they are still samsaric beings. You know, still they are samsaric beings. They are still not free from the samsara. They are still in samsara, you know, and it is explained, you know, in Bardo, sometimes it can be quite scary because due to your karma, as you are looking for the new rebirth, new reincarnations, due to the karma, you know, a lot of different visions arises, you know, you see things, different things, and not only depending on your karma as well, you know, for some, they can have a good experience, good visions, you can see good things, more peaceful, calming, and for some, it can be a very scary, fearful visions, and through that, then you can, the being in the state can have a fear and a lot of fear, and so definitely, as long as the person who is dying is ordinary beings, samsaric beings, then they still suffer, they still experience suffering, even in Bardo. But of course, if someone who is a more highly realized beings, and while they are in Bardo, they experience less, or they don't experience, you know. So, yeah. do conditions accidentally appear, or does one's karma create conditions? That is complex, complicated. Because in general speaking, in the teachings, they explain about cause and conditions, two different things. In terms of plant, the seed is the cause, that the substantial cause is the substantial cause. The seed is the cause, and then the like water, a secondary cause, like water and fertilizer, heat and so forth, or light, so forth. They are the conditions. Similarly, when you talk about karma, also there when we talk about experience, our experience, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, also we talk about cause and conditions. The cause is the karma, karmic cause, karmic seed. When you talk about the conditions, then it is the external factors, things come together, that is, so in that sense, it is explained differently. So, there is karmic cause and there is immediate conditions. And when there's two come together, then that gives rise to the karmic seed to give a experience, And so it is a, for example, I can have karmic seeds, all carrying all different kind of karmic seed, positive, negative karmic seed, and to activate that karmic seed, it required conditions, immediate conditions. And so sometimes the immediate condition can come from inside, sometimes immediate condition can come from outside, sometimes both inside and outside, So that kind of immediate conditions, I wouldn't say is a karma. Because if I say it is created by the karma, that immediate condition is created by the karma, then I think then you have no choice, you have no control. Then everything will be decided by the karma. Everything's my experience, my life, everything that happens, I have no control, I have no choice, but it will be more like predetermined destiny, like fate, it is decided. But I think that is not the understanding of the Buddhist concept of karma. There's a karmic seed and there's immediate conditions and immediate cause, immediate conditions. And when that two come together, and that, for example, let me take example, if that, I don't know if that helps. I have a karma to get sick. The karmic seed is there, potential is there. Let's say I have a karmic seed to get, whatever sickness, particular sickness, But that karmic seed to be activated, it has to met with the conditions and certain external conditions. And so when that external condition does not, if that external condition doesn't come and meet together with that karmic seed, then it doesn't give rise to that experience of being sick, for example. And so therefore, by controlling the external conditions, in some way, I can control my karmic seeds from manifesting it, to certain degree, to certain level. And so, for me, by taking all the steps, taking care of yourself, trying to live a more, what do you call, healthy way, So then by doing that, then you stop the external conditions. And by stopping the external conditions, then, for example, let's say I have the karmic seed to get a, some kind of lung disease. And then if I smoke, that will be the conditions, immediate condition. And that leads to that my lung to get affected and have that disease from that. But if I never smoke, then that karmic seed is not activated. And so therefore maybe seed is still there, but it is not activated, so that I don't experience, at least at that moment, in that way. So in that way, I can kind of, on the other hand, if I don't have any karmic seed to get a lung disease, and even I smoke, it will not affect me, because external condition there, but internal cause is not there. And so therefore, internal cause, the karmic seed, and external conditions coming together. So in that sense, then I think it is not created by the karma. Otherwise, then that is my understanding, and my explanation. I don't know whether I'm off, of the, but definitely you do see the differentiating cause and conditions, even in karma. Like even in there are certain prayers, like after Heart Sutra, there's a dispelling the hindrance, then we may, due to the past karma and immediate conditions, this and that. So it always, due to past karma and immediate condition, it differentiates two things. And also in one of the sutras, there is a Buddha explaining about that, also a little bit that in one particular sutras, because so, okay. Can meditation on dream help and prepare our mind in having a good Bardo, practicing how to have a lucid dream? I don't know so much about lucid dream, even though I've heard a little bit about them, but I don't know so much detail well enough to really say so much about that. But definitely, in Buddhism, we talk about dream yoga. And dream yoga, I don't know, I don't think it might be same like the lucid dreaming, I don't think probably it's the same. In the dream yoga is what you use is, during the dream, your mind is much more subtle than when you are awake. And so then you use that dream mind, which is subtle, to practice. And when you are able to utilize that dream mind to practice the virtues, then it becomes effective, because it's subtle mind, less distractions. Because during the subtle mind, there is a lot of gross mind has ceased, and most of our distractions are gross mind. A lot of our distraction, a lot of different concept, thoughts are gross mind. So that gross mind has kind of ceased, and so it is more subtle mind and less distractions. And if you can utilize that subtle mind in the dream state, then definitely your practice would be much more powerful, because of the mind is much more subtle and less distractions. And so in that sense, then there is a practice of dream yoga, and definitely if you can utilize dream yoga, then definitely it is a similar to that practice is also similar at the clear light mind meditations at the time of death. So again, when we die, then our gross mind cease, then the subtle mind, all the gross mind cease, then the three subtle mind cease, and then at the end, what is there, the more subtle mind, that is the clear light mind, And then because it is the most powerful mind, but most of the time we were unable to utilize it. Sometimes maybe we are not even aware of that when, even though we go through that stages. And if someone can utilize that mind, it is a very powerful mind to meditate on emptiness, you know, and any practice, but especially emptiness. And so therefore, someone who have practiced in the, definitely they will have more tools and access to be able to utilize clear light at the time of death, the clear light mind. And if you can utilize clear light mind, then definitely, you know, you can effect the Bardo and the next rebirth, you know, depending on how strong your practice is. You might achieve even enlightenment. You could achieve even enlightenment in that Bardo state itself. Or even you have a rebirth, still in that Bardo stage, you can continue to do practice in that Bardo and without much suffering. So yes. And this probably maybe last, do the two different opinions regarding changing your birth throwing karma in Bardo have to do with 4 schools? Yeah, the is not individually, but it is, yeah, Asanga and yeah, the mind only school, and then middle way school has one thought, and then Babasiga and Sotantrika has the other schools. So those two, the Babasiga and Sotantrika, they think that you cannot change the intermediate stage once you have taken whatever intermediate stage of next rebirth. Whereas the Mahayana school of the thoughts, they believe that it can be changed. Okay. Okay, I think in the right time. So again, thank you very much for showing up and having this wonderful discussions, questions and answers. I hope